Closing is overrated. Yep, you heard it right. I'm a salesperson telling you to stop thinking about closing. Like you, I was sat there watching Wolf of Wall Street. I've seen the Grant Cardone videos and I thought to myself, that's what it's about. That boiler room style, pressure, pressure, pressure. Let's get the deal over the line. Are you comfortable with me now? In reality, this is a recipe for no-shows, people dropping out at proposal stage, and people being convinced against their own will, which not only is perhaps unethical, but it's not conducive to predictable, reliable selling. So, what is the answer? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down a few little tips on closing. Firstly, spot which part of the emotional roller coaster you're on. Selling is something that happens emotionally. But not only does it happen emotionally, it's then reinforced logically. And I'll give you an example of that. Have you ever bought something and thought to yourself, maybe it's a bit too expensive, but you know what, I deserve this jacket. I deserve it, I feel good in it. I've been working hard. And you put it on, you walk out the shop, you catch a little glimpse of yourself in the mirror and you think, I look good. Before you know it, you're walking a couple of miles or walking yourself back home, whatever it may be that you're doing next, and suddenly the logical brain kicks back in. Why did you do that? Could you afford it? And that there is the dilemma. The emotional brain made the decision, the logical brain questioned the buying, and that's where you come up with this idea of buyer's remorse. Now let's put that in a SDR meeting booking situation. How many times have you got someone seemingly excited on a call, or they seemed interested, you couldn't quite put your finger on it, and the next thing that's happened is you're left with a no-show, scratching your head thinking, what on earth has happened here? So the answer to this is very simple. You're going to play a ping pong game between the emotional brain and the logical brain during the closing frame. So the closing frame that I've always liked is as soon as you get someone talking in very simple language and very emotional language about the problem, that's when you move into the closing frame. So how that might sound is you might have asked someone, how do they know that this is a problem? And they've said, well, because it's really frustrating, takes loads of time, something we've been working on for a little while. And then we're going to switch our brain into a therapy mode and we're going to start asking questions like, okay, and how long have you felt like this for? And they might have felt like this for a year, 2 years. Okay, and have you done anything to fix it? Yeah, we've tried X system, that didn't work. We did Y thing, that didn't quite work. Okay, and then we're going to use a gentle pushback. Disqualification, gentle pushback. What they're doing is they're there to see, look, here's the house that you've built, here's the problem house, if you will, and I'm just going to gently push the foundations and see if it falls over. So disqualification questions or gentle pushback, what we're really looking to do is, can we get that emotional brain involved in the conversation? One that I quite like is, okay, I suppose at this point it feels like even if we did have something to show you that could fix X, Y, and Z, you've probably completely ruled out looking at anything else. What I'm looking for there is a no, not at all. I'd certainly be interested. There's others, like asking people, can I ask you a really direct question? Is there any way you've given up on fixing this problem? That might be another one. Or we like a why question. And the reason why is, what have you been doing? How have you been doing it? All feel fine. Why have you been doing it? Suddenly that gets my back up, that gets a different part of my brain engaged in the conversation. So what I might say at this point is, look, there's a lot of companies that could potentially fix this for you. Why are you holding yourself back? Or there's a lot of companies like us out there. Why would you sit down and have a meeting with us? And what we're doing is we're getting the why part of the brain involved and looking for a little bit of pushback to get that investment, get that motivation. And then once we've done that, we're then going to look for some sort of close. The interesting thing is because we'll have done a real deep dive into the problem, they'll have had to think deeply about it, they'll have also gone down a slightly therapized route, then been pushed back in terms of, is this a real problem? Is there a clear motivation to fix it? When we get to the close and we've asked that emotional question, typically we only really need to say, have you got your diary there? Or would it be ridiculous to put some time aside? Or I'm guessing it'd be a silly idea to sit down and show you what we do. I'm looking for a very, very soft close, not grabby, and that way we aren't just going for that conventional, can I steal some time in your diary? Can I give you 10 minutes to show you what I do? We want very, very low pressure closing. Bonus tip, I always like at the end to ask certain questions. Number one, I like to say, if you sit down with us and you're not interested in what we do, are you happy to tell me no at the end of that meeting? Of course, that seems reasonable. Equally, if you like what you see, are you happy to outline some next steps? And of course, they'll say yeah. If you're selling in an enterprise space, that might be the part where you might want to ask the question, what are those next steps? Who else would need to be involved? Who else's opinion would you value at that point? And that way you can understand the politics of the decision making in the business. And the last point, and I frame it exactly like this, the weirdest question of all, are you prepared for it? Yeah, go on. Is there any reason I'd be crying into my coffee because you haven't shown up? So there's some thoughts on closing. Summarized, you're looking for an emotional question that understands the motivation behind solving the problem. I might start with, how long have you felt like this? What have you done to fix it? Why do you think that's not worked? That would be the three phases of that. The next point would be it feels like even if we could fix this, you'd be against sitting down, taking a look at what we do. Some sort of no framed, negative framed, pushback style close. Once we've got that, we then of course, have you got your diary there? What date are you looking at? All the good stuff that's the logistics of how to book a meeting in your diary. I'm not going to bore you with that. But then we use a pre-close, which is at the next call, are you comfortable giving me either a yes or a no? Asked in the style just previously discussed. And the last one that tends to prevent a lot of no-shows is there any reason that I'd be crying into my coffee because you haven't shown up? There's some thoughts on closing. Let me know what you think in the comments, and of course ask me any questions that you want. I'll aim to do follow-up videos on anything that you chuck my way. Go out and get them, go forth and prospect.